Hey everybody, just a quick public service announcement about the 3DS before I get on to the Wii U stuff. Because a lot of people still have platinum points floating around on their My Nintendo, and if you're not using it to buy physical stuff from Nintendo's site, you may want to just use them to get a few extra themes, because themes are still available till the 28th, very early in the morning on the 28th, so pretty much by the 27th really. So, you can just use those up. Some of the themes are 100 points, some are 200. And I mean, it does change up the background to change the theme of your 3DS. It's a nice change once in a while, so you might as well use those points. They disappear after 6 months anyway. The gold ones last 12, but you could use the gold points for actual, pennies on the dollar to buy digital games on the Switch, so those are more valuable. But, there's nothing wrong with grabbing a few free themes to change things up a little bit. And also, as you can see here, I'm running through some of the games that I have downloaded, because there are some things, obviously some of these games you may have owned or had on other systems, but I like having a few of these portable. But then there are some like Shantae, which, they're so valuable to buy. I have plenty of physical cartridges, and I'm at the point now where I'm not buying anymore because they're just so outrageous, the price. But there are games on the 3DS and the Wii U that you can buy a digital version for such a small fraction of what they cost. Some of these games are valued at over 100, 200, some are $300 on eBay for physical copies, and that's just not worth it. So much better when you can spend anywhere from $4 to maybe $10, and you still have time to buy. So look up on YouTube, search for someone that shows you how to link your accounts if you haven't done it yet. You still have a couple weeks left to buy some games. And what I do with these, and I'm not a big piracy guy anymore, but I've gotten to the point where I like buying physical copies, or I like buying digital copies. And anything that I buy, physical or digital, I will download those ROMs and emulate them just for the convenience of playing some games. And you can't always do that with 3DS games yet, but you can do it with a lot of things like DS and all the older systems. A lot of people are modding their systems, and they're just going to download whatever they want. Do what you want. But I do like giving a little money to the actual people that produce the game. So I don't mind buying digitally, and a lot of these games are very reasonably priced. Think about if you're spending the money that you'd spend on a new game, which is anywhere up to $70. You throw that onto this and just chip away through it, and you've got a lot of fun games. My wife's system, she hadn't used it in a good while. And I was like, hey, there's some games on sale. I bought a few of the 3D rail games for $2 each, because I kind of like that stuff. It's not fancy gameplay or anything, but it's like a 3D kind of tour, driving the trains through Japan. And then there was a Sweet Shop game in the on sale stuff, and it was only $2. It was down from 20 to 2. And it's kind of like a Cookin' Mama game, and we've never had one of those. And my wife had $2.11 left. So she bought the game, and now she only has a penny. If she wouldn't have thought of this over the next month, that just would have gone to waste. So at least we got an extra game, and she was having a good time with it. We saw a reviewer online talk about games that they like a lot, and that was one of them. And then I saw it was still on sale. That was great to see. So don't waste your points. Don't lose them. If you got a few dollars to spend and you haven't linked your accounts, like she is not linked to a Switch account, so that's going to just disappear. Like I'm linked to a Switch account. I'm going to have those funds carry over to the Switch. She did not have a Switch account linked, so those funds were the ones from way back when she put them on with cards and stuff. So there's no way she's going to get those back and just lose the $2. She might as well buy a game. Now, one thing I had to do recently was upgrade my card inside the system, because it's only a 4 gig SD card. So I bought a 64 SD card, and they're only like $8 on Amazon, and they'll ship in a couple of days. So I strongly recommend that, so you're not swapping files so much or having to delete stuff and re-download. One of the funnest things I did was just actually browsing the eShop. It was fun to look through at all the games that were available that I had forgotten about over the last 5-6 years. So I had just built up a wish list of things, and I've just been chipping away at them. Like, do I really want that? Like, one of the things I was looking at was the Game Boy version of Metroid 2, and I was like, oh, I don't have that. And then I realized, oh, wait, but there's a remake that I already have for the 3DS, so am I going to waste money on that? Nah, not really, And then there's something like Vampire Master of Darkness on the Game Gear, and I really want the Master System version, which is super expensive, but so is the Game Gear. And the Master System version, you know, is zoomed out a little bit more, but then again, you know, I still want the game, but I can't buy these cartridges. They're just too darn expensive, but I want to experience the game. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy Vampire Master of Darkness for $4.99 just so I can at least experience it. And it's kind of like, you know, Sega or the Game Gear's version of Castlevania. And while everyone says it's not perfect, I still want to know what that's like. So I've got that option at least. So to wrap this up, just make sure either way, even if you're not going to buy any new games, you should go back on your system and make sure you don't have funds just floating around on there that are going to go to waste. I mean, use them if you can, one way or another. And then double check that you don't have a few platinum points that you want to just throw at some themes if you can. Or if you've got a lot, you can buy the Zelda P-Cross. So now let's move on to the Wii U. Alright, here we are in the Wii U section, and this is just more of the same. But one of the extra things I want to talk about, another public service announcement on this, is there's been some rumors about people's Wii U's failing because they haven't used them. I guess the flash memory where the firmware is stored is a bit volatile and it needs an electric charge. And if it doesn't have that charge, it will lose its memory, and then you can't boot up your Wii U system. So it's worth pulling it out, even if you're not looking to maybe buy something new or grab some last-minute deals or pick up some games that are super rare on here. If you're not into that, that's fine. But you know, you should probably boot up your Wii U anyway just to see that it's working. So that's worth it. And then hey, even if you fire it up and it's working, you might find that you got another $7 or $5 left on there, and you do want to pick up a game or two. And again, they're still having sales in these last couple of weeks, so we're down to the last few weeks. It's going to all end on the 27th of March 2023. So I actually have been looking at stuff over the last month and have been surprised of the deals that are on there. Like Capcom had a deal where I just bought Zack and Wiki. They had DuckTales, and maybe they'll put that back on in the next week or two, so I'm not guaranteeing anything. But right now, they've got Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, which I was shocked to see on sale, because that's a really good bundle. It's got all the games. And I had the physical edition for the first one, but this has everything, and I'm like, this is fantastic. So I picked that up, and then there's a few last-minute games for like the NES or what else? The Super NES. Like I'm picking up Axlay, and just thinking about Axlay, it's like this is one of those ones where I've been kind of sitting on, waiting to see if a collection would come out that would include it. And I've never had it before. It's too expensive to buy physical. I'm going to buy it digitally, and there's just nothing come out. I think the highlight of the virtual console on here is the Game Boy Advance stuff. There is a large amount of games on here, 74 different games, and I would say that at least half of them are worth owning and playing. So take that into account, along with the fact that there's stuff on here that you're going to spend $7 or $8 on, that if you bought a physical version of some of these games, you're paying $100, $200, $300 for. It's insane. And then even some of the other ones are in the $40, $50 range. For example, I've never played a Klonoa game, and evidently Klonoa 1 and 2 for the Game Boy Advance on here are pretty fun, so I'll probably be picking those up just to have the experience. The savings just with these games is incredible. You've got lots of Mega Man Game Boy Advance games on here. People love those. I don't really like Mega Man too much, so that's something for the Mega Man fans, but I'm not going to knock it when you can get those kind of games for this price. There's, series on here like Golden Sun that you'd want. There's every Zelda game, I think, that's been released by Nintendo for Nintendo hardware between the Wii U and the 3DS, if I'm not mistaken, all the way up to the most recent Breath of the Wild. So that's a series that you could get into, and then just the tons of Mario games that are available. It's a real shame they never got to doing the GameCube games on here, because I think if the Wii U would have been a little more successful, we might have seen some of those happen. And so, looking at the Virtual Console alone, you've got the NES, the Super NES, the N64, the Game Boy Advance, Wii games, and I could be missing something. Oh, TurboGrafx 16. Now, you don't have Game Boy Color or Game Boy games on here, but those are available on the 3DS if you want. So, I imagine that's why they didn't bother putting them on here. Oh, and there's also dual screen games. I forgot about those. So, and it's not like the biggest variety, but you still had 300, slightly over 300 games for all these systems on there. And, you know, a few have been delisted already, but that's mostly in the TurboGrafx 16 section. And one of the recommendations I'd make for picking up is going to the Pinball Arcade stuff and picking up the first season, because you can't get the Williams games anymore. That's the best season where you get the most bang for the buck and the most pinball machines. So the first season's a really good deal. And now Zen Studios has the rights to the Williams pinball machines, and they're really not putting them out too fast. So if you like pinball, and there's ways to get these physically on other systems, some of the collections have them, but I don't know what the mix is. But again, the first season of the Pinball Arcade by Farsight Studios is really good. I think it's $30, so it's a little pricey, but you get almost, if not 20 pinball machines on there, I think. So that ends up being just, you know, $1.50 a piece. So that's not too bad, and there's a good selection in there, and that'll keep you happy for a long time. And you know, if you're not ready to commit to anything, just throw them in your wish list, and that's what I've been doing. I've been building up my wish list over the last year and moving stuff in and moving stuff out, you know, depending on what I discover. Like, oh, I had all the Castlevania games in there at one time, and then I got the collection on the Switch, and I moved them out, you know, and then I found something like Pocky and Rocky on here, and I've never played one of those games, and people love them. So for not a lot of money, I get to try a new series out before investing anything else into it. And then there's this Car Battler Joe, which is very expensive, and I don't know if it's going to be fun, but for $7, I've got to give it a shot. Now, I could go over a lot of the reasons to get a Wii U besides just all these extra games on the eShop, you know. I just find that it's very fun to play these games with this controller. You know, you can play on the TV, or you can just play on the controller if you're in the same room. I mean, it doesn't have the farthest reach, but if someone else is watching a show on the TV, it's like having a handheld game system that's in the same room connected. You know, you probably got about 20 feet. So it's pretty good, and it's got headphone jacks and everything. So this is a great way to play things, and you can play all the games on that gamepad. The DS games, the Wii games, they're all available to play right off of the gamepad, which is pretty unique. It kind of was the precursor idea for the Switch, but you know what I don't like about the Switch is it's one or the other. It's handheld or on the TV. It doesn't have both ways to play where you can actually use the controller as an advanced controller with the touchscreen functions on it. So, you know, I don't know if anyone out there is interested in getting a Wii U anymore, because I mean, if you got one in the last few days here, you still have a week or two to buy stuff. I don't know how you get a Nintendo ID anymore on there. Maybe you still can. Maybe you can set one up real quick. Maybe you can then join it to your Switch account or something and add funds. So, you know, there's videos out there. There's stuff to look at. If you want to really know what kind of games are out there that you don't know about, the ones that are rare, and maybe the ones that are must-haves, you can watch the Gaming Off the Grid guys. They've done a great job over the last year on just, you know, hammering, like, all the things to play, and they're really fun to watch. So you should check out their videos on the Wii U stuff over the last year. And just remember, it's worth grabbing free-to-play games on here that are demos, like the Fatal Frame games, or just regular free-to-play that work with Amiibos, or the Amiibo Tap, Nintendo's Greatest Bits, or Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge. And grab them before the end of the month on the 27th, because we're not really sure yet if these free-to-play demos or free-to-play games that they have are going to be available for download, because usually when you click them, it's kind of like purchasing it for free. So if that purchasing ability is turned off, you might not be able to get the game anymore. And you don't want to miss out on things like that, because I was really surprised with the 2 Amiibo games that there's quite a bit of gameplay and fun to be had, and all you need to have is a handful of Amiibos, which lots of people bought back in the day. So that's about all for now, with the Wii U eShop and the 3DS eShop coming to its end on the 27th of March 2023. It's time to maybe just take a look back, and you can dive down the rabbit hole of YouTube videos over the next week and a half or 2 weeks, or you can fire up your system if you've still got one, and hopefully it's working, and you can check out everything yourself and start looking through, because sometimes you'll find that there's stuff on there that you wanted and you just forgot to get. So maybe you'll get lucky and find, like, it's like finding $10 in a pocket. You may find there's $10 in credits still left on your balance. So have fun going down the eShop rabbit hole over the next few weeks, and we'll see you next time. So long.